ये मंच गौरवान्वित है उस अद्वितीय व्यक्तित्व का स्वागत करते हुए जिन्होंने प्रशासनिक सेवा और समाज सेवा में एक नई मिसाल कायम की है। श्री अविनाश धर्माधिकारी पूर्व आईएएस अधिकारी, एक प्रखर लेखक और चाणक्य मंडल परिवार के संस्थापक। मैं स्वागत करना चाहूंगी आपका मंच पर करतल ध्वनि के साथ। कृपया जोरदार तालियों से आपका स्वागत करें। धर्माधिकारी जी ने 1996 में अपनी प्रशासनिक सेवा से इस्तीफा देकर समाज सुधार और युवा सशक्तिकरण का मार्ग चुना। मुख्यमंत्री के उप सचिव और रायगढ़ के कलेक्टर जैसे महत्वपूर्ण पदों पर कार्य करते हुए आपने साक्षरता अभियान और महिला सशक्तिकरण में महत्वपूर्ण योगदान दिया। चाणक्य मंडल के माध्यम से हजारों युवाओं को नेतृत्व और राष्ट्रीय दृष्टिकोण के साथ सशक्त किया। उनकी किताबें, कविताएं उनके विचारों और समाज के प्रति उनकी प्रतिबद्धता को दर्शाती हैं। आइए उनके जीवन और विचारों से प्रेरणा लेते हुए उनका स्वागत करें। पुनः बहुत बहुत स्वागत आपका मंच पर।
All of us as sons and daughters of Bharat Mata. So it is like my greatest of happiness to address all of us as sisters and brothers. This is also what Swami Vivekananda taught us. Why only Bharat Mata? For us, the whole earth is one family. It is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And our prarthana since Vedas is Prithivai Samudra Paryantaya Ekarat iti. That we as Bharat are a nation and so is the whole earth. It is with deepest sense of gratitude, the gratitude for which not only that I don't have enough words, the gratitude for which there are no enough words in any dictionary in the world, that I am here with that deepest sense of gratitude. Just before coming here, I was exchanging some meaningful talk with Honorable Rajat ji. He said the strength that is in Bharatiya languages is not necessarily there in English. Because the sense that is there in Bharatiya Sanskriti, the words Bharatiya Sanskriti, हम तो कह रहे थे कि भारतीय संस्कृति शब्दों में जो भाव है, तो ये कहते हुए भी हमने कहा कि भाव शब्द के लिए भी सही अंग्रेजी शब्द है नहीं। मेरे कहने का मतलब है कि मेरे मन में भी जो कृतज्ञता का भाव है, ये भी जो शब्द है कृतज्ञता, gratitude is a distant second translation which can be claimed to be coming anywhere close to the Kritagyata bhav in my mind. What a trust, what an honor. And since I am also aware that 1 unit of honor is always 10 units of responsibility, I do want to say humbly that I am aware of this responsibility also. I am starting with the expression of this deepest of Kritagyata bhav, this trust that when we are commencing the celebration of 75 years of our profound constitution and the whole nation to come together, and our constitution, our democracy, deeply rooted in our civilization, Bharatiya Sanskriti. When we are commencing that, here I am. Here I get the opportunity to interact with all of you at this highest mandir of our Pavitra democracy. To be here at Sansad Bhavan itself is a greatest of an honor. And then to get this opportunity to interact right in this highest of the mandir on the very fundamental book which defines us, which defines our nation, you may begin to sense what I mean when I say that there are not enough words in any dictionary for me to express my Krutagyata bhav. So let me express this Krutagyata as the best symbol and expression towards Rajat ji, who is instrumental in making this possible. And also I am blessed with such students like Prajakta sitting here, who also did everything to ensure that this becomes possible. So my deepest sense of gratitude. All of us absolutely believe, उसे भी हमारा शब्द है श्रद्धा, कि हमारी गहरी से गहरी श्रद्धा है कि भारतवर्ष क्या है, भारतीय संस्कृति क्या है. तो या तो संस्कृत में कहनी हो तो सर्वेत्र सुखिनः सन्तु, कि मे एवरीबडी फाइंड ब्लिस, एवरीबडी. चाहे वो संस्कृत में हो सर्वेत्र सुखिनः सन्तु, चाहे प्राकृत में जो कि भगवान बुद्ध और भगवान महावीर ने हमें सिखाया, भवतु सब्ब मंगलम. दिस इज आवर डीपेस्ट आर्टिकल ऑफ फेथ. भारतीय संस्कृति की प्रार्थना मात्र किसी विशिष्ट समुदाय वगैरह के प्रति नहीं है, और जरूर ही किसी दूसरे समुदाय के प्रति कहीं कोई दुश्मनी नफरत की नहीं है. हमारी प्रार्थना सभी मानव मात्रों का कल्याण हो, बल्कि चर और अचर सृष्टि का कल्याण हो, पहाड़ों का कल्याण हो, नदियों का कल्याण हो. तभी पर्यावरण की बात चलती है, जो कि माननीय मंत्री महोदय जी ने इतनी सटीकता के साथ हमसे साझा की. यह है भारतीय संस्कृति. सर्वेत्र सुखिनः सन्तु और वसुधैव कुटुंबकम जिसकी श्रद्धा है, ये बनती है हमारी भारतीय संस्कृति. उसने जो आधुनिक आकार धारण किया वो हमारे लिए हमारे संविधान की देन है, योगदान है. Unfortunately, even today, there are some people, some organizations, some, if I may say, self-styled thinkers who think that India is not a nation, and that has been going on for a long time. And then some people say India never was a nation, and if at all it became a nation, probably on 15th of August 1947. Some people slightly go beyond, telling us that India never was a nation, it is only the British rule that made us into a nation. They conquered whole India, they gave one law, one currency, one administration, so on and so forth. It is difficult to find such a colonial and slavish interpretation of our own history. We were also told that we don't deserve democracy. We were told repeatedly, and some voices say it even today, that India cannot sustain national unity, constitution and democracy. There were people who argued that it is probably some individuals who are holding this whole nation called India, and maybe beyond those individuals, like India will balkanize. During the Second World War, when the Allied forces met on a ship in Atlantic and they discussed what should be the shape of the world after Second World War, they signed this Atlantic Charter. First principle in the Atlantic Charter was right to self-determination. The then US President FDR, Franklin D. Roosevelt, asked the then British Prime Minister Winston Churchill whether this principle of right to self-determination is applicable to India or not. And Churchill is supposed to have legendarily retorted back, saying, I have not become Prime Minister to preside over the liquidation ceremony of the British Empire. Churchillian position was that there is no India. Churchillian position has been that it's only name of a territory. Saying India is like saying Europe, there are many nation states there, similarly here. Sad part of our national existence is there are still persons, forces, organizations, self-styled intellectuals who keep saying we are not a nation even today, and that passes for progressivism, saying we are not a nation today. My heart is filled with gratitude for our Constituent Assembly, who also made it a point to define India as a nation. So if India, that is Bharat, is union of states, in our preamble itself we state very clearly that we are a nation. And even in saying India, that is Bharat, we are making it clear as to which legacy are we stating. That Bharat tha, Bharat hai, or Bharat rahega. And when even in the preamble we say we the people, on the face of it, it may appear like we picked it up from American Declaration of Independence. But that state is owned by people. The deepest expression of democracy is right straight from Vedas till present times. मुझे वहाँ बैठ के सुनते हुए भी आनंद हो रहा था कि मंत्री जी ने भी वही बात कही, चाहे वेदों में सभा समिति की बात हो या जो इतिहास में रिपब्लिक गणराज्य थे, अलेक्जेंडर के साथ जो आए थे इतिहासकार, उन्होंने लिखा है कि हमारी नॉर्थ वेस्ट सीमा में जिनसे अलेक्जेंडर की सेना का मुकाबला हुआ वो गणराज्य थे, योधेय, मालव, शूद्रक, जिन्होंने कि एक्चुअली अलेक्जेंडर की सेना को परास्त किया, जो मानी जाती है विश्व विजेता थी, तो हमारे एक एक गणराज्य ने उनको परास्त किया। बुद्ध भगवान जिन्हें कि शाक्य मुनि कहते हैं, तो शाक्य कुल का कारोबार लोकतांत्रिक और गणतंत्र की पद्धति से हुआ करता था, जो कि वैशाली भी लिच्छवी गणराज्य है, भगवान वर्धमान महावीर का, वो लिच्छवी गणराज्य है। और जनतंत्र की दुनिया की शायद सबसे बेहतरीन मिसाल दैट विल कम फ्रॉम आवर डीप साउथ, द होल एंशंट तमिल लीगसी, which as a Bharatiya my heart is filled with deepest happiness to see the Sengol in our Sansad Bhavan redefining India's national unity and democracy. Because principles of Chola polity tell us world's best example of direct democracy at village level. Even the kings and emperors had no right to interfere in the village administration. And there used to be elections wherein criteria for who can contest that election have been defined, and they include minimum 10 years of selfless service to the village, to the people. Only then you qualify to be people's representatives. More I study even ancient Greek or Roman democracy, I find that the principles of democracy in Bharatiya Sanskriti and also as enshrined in the Chola polity of our own deep south, आज तक वो दुनिया के लिए एक बेहतरीन से बेहतरीन मिसाल बनी हुई है। जब कहा जाता था कि या तो भारत एक राष्ट्र है ही नहीं और ये लोकतंत्र के लिए काबिल नहीं है, क्योंकि जो बुकिश इंटेलेक्चुअल्स होंगे वो कह रहे थे कि जनतंत्र के लिए चाहिए एक समतापूर्ण समाज, एगैलिटेरियन सोसाइटी, और तुम लोग तो जात पात वर्ण में बांटे हुए हो, अलग अलग भाषाएं, अलग अलग रंग है, अलग अलग तौर तरीके हैं, दुनिया भर के सारे पंथ है, तो कहा जाता था कि तुमको एक साथ रखने का कोई सूत्र है ही नहीं, न तुम जनतंत्र के लायक हो, इसलिए डेमोक्रेसी यहाँ टिकेगी नहीं, और न तुम राष्ट्र हो। वो क्या जानते हैं कि भारतीय संस्कृति को प्रारंभ से ये साक्षात्कार है, रिविलेशन, एकम सद विप्राह बहुधा वदंती। माननीय मंत्री जी ने भी वेदों का उल्लेख किया। हमें तो कभी से पता है कि सत्य एक है, उसकी तरफ जाने के रास्ते अलग अलग हैं, और जिसकी जिस रास्ते पर श्रद्धा है तुम उस रास्ते से चलो। किसी तरह की कोई दुश्मनी, कोई नफरत, कोई खून खराबा, कोई तुम मेरे ही रास्ते से चलो, ये जरूरी नहीं है, क्योंकि हमें तो शुरू से मालूम है कि सत्य एक है। हम चाहे जिस रास्ते से चले, आखिरकार हम उसी सत्य के एक आविष्कार भी हैं, और आखिर में मिलेंगे तो एक ही जगह पे। तो चलो अपने अपने रास्ते से चलते हैं। इससे गहरी और इससे सार्थक और क्या व्याख्या हो सकती है जनतंत्र की? इसका भी पता होना कि जो विविधता है वो तो मात्र बाहरी आविष्कार, इट इज डाइवर्सिटी ऑफ मैनिफेस्टेशंस। We have realized since ancient times that this is only expression of outer diversity. Deeper we go, we are all one. We are all expressions of that one, only expressing ourselves with that diversity. So diversity does not disturb us. And diversity does not mean disunity, which I am afraid some people with their own agenda bent on dividing India, dividing Indian civilization, dividing our civilizational unity, they come up and represent our diversity as disunity. Truth is quite to the contrary, that diversity has never disturbed us. Not only that diversity has not disturbed us, in fact we welcome diversity. We understand that diversity is our strength. Not only that we welcome, we respect diversity. That realization also comes from ekam sad vipraha bahuda vadanti. That diversity is diversity of external manifestations. At its root, we are all one. हम चाहे जिस भाषा में बात करें, कि कोई तमिल में कहेगा, कोई मलयालम में कहेगा, तेलुगु में कहेगा, कन्नड़ा में कहेगा, मराठी, बंगाली, हिंदी, इतनी सारी भाषाएं, इतने सारे तौर तरीके, इतने दुनिया के सारे पंथ और संप्रदाय रहेंगे, फिर भी हम एक हैं, क्योंकि इस एकता का अनुभव ही भारतीय संस्कृति है। और उससे निकल आती है हमारी सहिष्णुता। रजत जी को फिर याद करते हुए मैं कहूँगा कि सहिष्णुता को भी कोई अंग्रेजी शब्द ही नहीं है। टॉलरेंस और म्यूचुअल एक्सेप्टेंस, they are pale shadows of the term Sahishnuta. Something that Swami Vivekananda also told the world on history's more famous and more relevant 9/11, which was 1893. That like different drops falling on different surfaces through different streams flow towards the same ocean. We are all different expressions of the same divinity, heading towards same one single goal. That is the root of our legendary Sahishnuta. Tolerance only means that I am ready to tolerate you. Tolerance means I am still saying that only my God is true, and my book is true, and my prophet is true. Yours is false, but I am tolerating you. Bharat goes way beyond that. The word used by Swamiji at Chicago was universal acceptance. Ki while our terms may be different and our names and forms may be different, in the end we understand that we are one, and that becomes the root of our modern democracy, sahishnutta, readiness to understand the truth in other man's point of view. That is how I would define sahishnutta. That while I have a certain opinion, and I am confident why I have arrived at that opinion, I respect even your opinion, although outwardly it may sound different from what I am saying. I am ready to see the truth in what you are saying. That is the most fundamental sense, the spirit, the soul of democracy. Why only Bharatiya Sanskriti? I am deeply convinced, ये मेरी श्रद्धा है, श्रद्धा को भी अंग्रेजी शब्द नहीं है, कि मेरी श्रद्धा है कि जो दुनिया अभी हिंसा और द्वेष से भरी हुई है, जो खून खराबे की तरफ जा रही है, और जैसा कि सेक्रेटरी जनरल ने चंद दिनों पहले कहा दैट द वर्ल्ड इज वन मिस्टेक अवे फ्रॉम न्यूक्लियर होलोकॉस्ट, इस दुनिया को भी अगर कोई शांति और प्रेम का मार्ग दिखाएगा तो वो भारतीय संस्कृति है, कि जो अद्वैत की भावना पे खड़ी है। इसीलिए पर्यावरण में भी मैं एक व्यक्ति के रूप में और निसर्ग दोनों अलग नहीं है, हम एक रूप हैं, हम उसी निसर्ग का ही हिस्सा है। तो कैसे हम पर्यावरण को नष्ट करेंगे? जब ये भाव जाग उठेगा, पर्यावरण की समस्या में भी उत्तर निकल के आएंगे। और जहाँ विश्व बंधुत्व की भी बात है, तो इसको इसी अनुभव पर खड़े और टिके रहना होगा कि हैं तो हम सब एक ही, और हर किस्म की विविधता का यहाँ स्वागत है। मेरा यह अनुभव है कि हमारा संविधान इसका आधुनिक रूप है। हर वक्त जब कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली का अध्ययन मैं करता हूँ एक विद्यार्थी के रूप में, अपने आप को गौरवान्वित महसूस करता हूँ। दिस इज लाइक अ थ्रिलिंग नॉवेल टू इवन सी हाउ आवर कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली हैज वर्कड। Like 290 people of all regions and religions and languages and caste and whatnot, they were all our freedom fighters. They were not there in the Constituent Assembly for name and fame and money and power. In fact, they had dedicated their lives to Bharat Mata. They were the ones who had internalized Bharatiya Sanskriti and at the same time had understood that Sanskriti has to show the readiness, the suppleness, the flexibility to change as per the times. In fact, those species who do not change as per the times are the species who vanish. Even the strength in survival is in our diversity and ability to change as per the times. So even that principle of eternal values to manifest in according to changing times, that principle also is inbuilt in our constitution because it is inbuilt in our civilization. And I see our Constituent Assembly representing that. They were conscious that we are building new India, but it is not with a disconnect with the past. That it's not to be uprooted from the past, and here we are to sort of artificially imitate the Westminster model of multi-party parliamentary democracy, because for 150 years, to your and my misfortune, the Britishers ruled us. We can't wish away the history, but the founding fathers of the Constitution were well aware that while these are the historical developments, we need to root our democracy in our civilization. And when I read Constituent Assembly debates, my heart is filled with great pleasure. How 292 people sit together here in our now which is going to be known as Samvidhan Bhavan. And our Constituent Assembly functioned on the principle of unanimity, not majority. Every single alphabet that is there in our Constitution is with absolute unanimity of like 292 verses 1. And what a thrilling way of working. That none other than Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, heading the drafting committee, would always prepare proposals. They would be presented to the Constituent Assembly, And all those selfless 292 people sitting there, putting their heads together, would discuss every single alphabet, including crossing the T's and dotting the I's. And if even one member had to say something about even one word, there would be proper discussion, and then final draft would come in. How our Constituent Assembly has deliberated with a great foresight and vision about what modern India is to be built, and therefore those articles and fundamental rights and directive principles. I find it thrilling to see that wherever the Constituent Assembly listened to Baba Saheb Ambedkar's opinion, the country has stood to benefit. And unfortunately, wherever Baba Saheb Ambedkar had a different opinion, but the Constituent Assembly finally concluded something else, I feel sorry, I am afraid the country has suffered and unfortunately continues to suffer. Baba Saheb Ambedkar was not in favor of Article 370. So much so that he refused to draft that article. And he remained absent on the day when this article was to be presented. So it was drafted later on. I am thankful to our Parliament to now having practically abrogated Article 370. Baba Saheb Ambedkar also wanted uniform civil code from day one. So when now we celebrate Samvidhan, the future is in our hands, and our job will be to go on strengthening this democracy. As the Constitution was to be dedicated to the country, one intelligent person asked Baba Saheb Ambedkar, how good is this Constitution? His profound, visionary answer was, the Constitution is as good or as bad as the people who would implement it. That means, my dear friends, you and me, to consolidate, to strengthen that Constitution, therefore to strengthen our democracy, which means भारत माता का भी गौरव और ये भारत माता दुनिया की भलाई के लिए भी काम करे, ये संविधान का हमारे लिए संदेश है कि नागरिक होने के रूप में अब बनती है हमारी जिम्मेदारी। चलो अपनी उस जिम्मेदारी को निभाते हैं और हमारे संविधान और जनतंत्र को और मजबूत करते हैं।
यहाँ जो लोग उपस्थित हैं, जो दर्शक हैं, प्रश्न अगर आप पूछना चाहें तो वो आमंत्रित हैं।
सर, एक घटना होती है, हमारी आर्मी जो है हमारे ऊपर उरी के ऊपर हमला होता है और फिर हम उसका जाते हैं, लेकिन एक मुख्यमंत्री हैं वो बोलते हैं कि ये जो है ये फर्जी है, और एक युवा छात्र थे दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी के, वो बोलते हैं कि भारत, कुछ ऐसे जैसे नारे लगते हैं, पर देश के ऊपर जब बात होती है या भारतीय सेना के ऊपर जब बात होती है तो सर इसके ऊपर लगाम लगनी चाहिए। धन्यवाद सर।
एक तो मेरी पक्की श्रद्धा है कि फ्रीडम ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन is one of the most fundamental principles of civilization, and for expression of creativity in all walks of life, we do need freedom of expression. But those who think that talking anti-national language is freedom of expression, मेरे मूल वार्तालाप में जहाँ मैंने कहा कि हमारे देश में अभी भी वैसे लोग हैं जो कि भारत को एक राष्ट्र ही नहीं मानते हैं, इसका मतलब है जो भारतीय संस्कृति का आदर भी नहीं करते हैं, और आई सेड दे पास फॉर प्रोग्रेसिव्स, इनको कहते हैं कि वो पुरोगामी है, आगे चलने वाले। ये कहाँ के आगे चलने वाले मेरी समझ से तो परे है। तो जाहिर है कि आप और हम, वी आर ऑन द सेम पेज। We need to respect our army, which is there in our constitution. I will refer to Article 51A. And अगर सांसद कोई होते हुए भी इस तरह से बात करेंगे तो मुझे विश्वास है कि हमारी संसद भी उनको देखने के काबिल है, और आखिर में भारतीय लोग भी इनको सबक सिखाने के काबिल हैं।
नमस्कार सर, जैसे कि आज का टॉपिक है भारतीय संविधान और भारतीय संस्कृति, तो हम ऐसा देख सकते हैं कि भारतीय संविधान और भारतीय संस्कृति में टकराव का ऐसा कुछ स्थिति पैदा हो सकती है?
मुझे तो बिल्कुल ही नहीं लगता है। मैं कहूँगा जिनका देश विरोधी एजेंडा हो, फिलॉसफी या आइडियोलॉजी के नाम पे जो अब तक सोचते हो कि न भारत एक राष्ट्र है, न जनतंत्र के लायक है, जिन्हें लगता है कि यह सिर्फ दिखावा है, शायद उनकी नज़र में पाकिस्तान और बांग्लादेश का जनतंत्र सही है और हमारा जनतंत्र शैम है। जो भी अलग अलग शब्द, तरह के शब्द वो निकल के आते हैं, मुझे नहीं लगता है कि इतिहास उन्हें विजेता के रूप में देखेगा। इतिहास में अगर जीतेंगे तो हम जीतेंगे, भारत जीतेगा, हमारा संविधान और जनतंत्र जीतेगा।
Hello, am I audible? Jai Hind sir, I have this question regarding the education system. As we talked about the Bharatiya Sanskriti and then we talked about the Samvidhan, the constitution. Then I have this question, how can we bring the awareness of constitution through education policies as well as the awareness regarding our culture, because I think the education forms the base of each and every civilization. Then what all changes can we bring to make these things more visible? Thank you.
Usually on very many textbooks, I find our preamble on the first page और also an oath, एक प्रतिज्ञा जिसे कहते हैं कि भारत मेरा देश है, सभी भारतीय मेरे बांधव हैं, भारत की अक्षुण्ण परंपराओं पर मुझे गौरव है और इसको और उजागर करने के मैं काम करूँगा. So more we make everyone aware, starting with education, and ये संस्कारों की बात है. अगर बचपन में स्कूल में ही ये संस्कार हो कि भारत एक राष्ट्र है, एक संस्कृति है, विविधता से भरी हुई, उस विविधता का स्वागत है, पर हम राष्ट्र के रूप में एक है, तो जब वो बचपन में ही संस्कार होंगे तो आगे चल के जो नौजवान और समाज के जिम्मेदार नागरिक हैं वो बनेंगे. I personally believe that especially the new education policy of 2020 is a great step in the right direction. All I will pray for and look forward to is its genuine implementation, because something you were indicating or hinting at is also something that can be very correctly described as Indian knowledge system, the one that makes us aware of our own heritage in knowledge and our own heritage in knowledge in like all walks of life. And then when we learn that and then link our present time is the promise of the future. So new education policy is big time on Indian knowledge systems. More it is implemented, more we are going to see the new brilliant India.
While it is good that we talk about our own Indian culture and all that, sir, but along with certain democratic practices like Sabha, Samiti, or the Chola Nadu, as you mentioned, sir, certain undemocratic practices has been also seeped in as well, like caste system, gender discrimination, and so on, sir. So my question is to you, how can we remove these undemocratic practices which are obstruction as per Rajni Kothari, and how can we ensure a more fluid working of the Indian democracy?
Sadly and basically I have to agree with you. When we speak about our constitution, our democracy with a sense of happiness and pride, it also becomes our duty to be carefully aware of the flaws or limitations, or like you are saying, some undemocratic things. Especially, I am absolutely convinced that the very caste system and then a sense of inequality that comes in and a hierarchical sense, etc., is the greatest of a curse on our civilization. We should work on that and we should remove all such inequalities, oppressions, and the caste-based, like even human relationships become based on caste consideration. And then if we are suspicious about each other just because we have different surnames which indicate different castes, the question is how are we going to form one solid nation. So what goes without saying is issue number one in front of Bharatiya Sanskriti also, and our democracy also, is without a shade of a doubt our working towards annihilation of caste and creating, building egalitarian society. There, my friend, for want of time, I will make the most important point, because all other talks are easy, writing books are easy, passing laws are easy, but I think the work of annihilation of caste, and for that matter, the work of removing all flaws in our democracy, okay, starts with ourselves, starts with oneself. So being the change that you want to bring about. So if we remove all these inequalities and caste consciousness from us, it means we are working towards one egalitarian modern nation of Bharatiya Sanskriti.
Hello, sir. Sir, it was really indeed enlightening to listen to you. I'd like to know from you that, especially what we hear from the Vipaksh Dal, or those who are standing on the other side, the opposition, they say that it can be um, it can be a threat to the diversity, because we have various practices, tribal practices, we have various languages and everything. And especially when you mentioned that the first world countries, said when we came up with democratic system, they said that India will not be able to survive it. It was totally wrong indeed. But today, the current system goes contrary to it somehow, saying one nation, one language, and so on. But I'd like to know your opinion on that, as well as means if Uniform Civil Code can keep us integrated along with the security of our Sanskriti, which is the different kind of cultures and languages and everything. How will that happen? So I'd like to know from you.
First very simple point will be, there is Article 44 in our Constitution. And the founding fathers of the Constitution have entrusted this responsibility to the rulers of this country, that the state shall endeavor to secure for citizens of India uniform civil code throughout the territory. So let there be unanimity, first of all, that India must have uniform civil code, latest actually by yesterday evening. But if it is not there by yesterday evening, then let us look forward to having uniform civil code by tomorrow morning. It is already late, it is 75 years. Like I said, even Babasaheb Ambedkar wanted uniform civil code. On finding that it's not coming up, he drafted and wanted the Hindu Code Bill, to which also the then President Babu Rajendra Prasad ji had said that why are you drafting a law only for one particular community or with the title. Even there he had insisted that let's bring in uniform civil code. There are n number of even Supreme Court rulings from Shah Bano to Shaira Bano case, where the Honorable Supreme Court also had issued a directive that we must have uniform civil code. That is absolutely no danger to our diversity at all, mind you. First of all, if the Hindu community has one uniform law, okay, there is tremendous mind-boggling diversity within even Hindu society. And it is there. And we are happy about it. So, Hindu Code Bill, has it acted as detrimental to the diversity within Hindu community? It hasn't. Similarly also, Uniform Civil Code will in no way absolutely adversely affect our diversity and no challenge to our national unity at all. In fact, Uniform Civil Code will further strengthen our national unity. If anyone remembers, these were all the things that were repeatedly said even about Article 370 until 5th of August 2019. Until the Home Minister stood up in the Parliament and made very brilliant statement about how it got de facto abrogated. In fact, even after it was de facto abolished, there were responsible politicians at different places, including inside Jammu Kashmir, who made statements to the effect that India's national unity will be in trouble. that Article 370 is the only one that connects Jammu Kashmir to India. What kind of statements are they? But now we see that actually Jammu Kashmir is on the path of development, on the fast track. Terrorism has reduced, so on and so forth. I know that Article 44 will do the same thing. In fact, unless it is brought in fact, in absence of Article 44, India's unity is in trouble. So if someone says that by bringing Article 44, India's unity will be in trouble, they are the ones who are causing the trouble. Actually, our Articles 14, 15 and 16 very clearly state that there will be no discrimination on the basis of exact terms used in the Constitution are caste, clan, religion, race, sex, etc. If there are separate laws based on religion, it is not diversity, it is what is called a state within state, which Ambedkar also opposed. The state has to be like monolithic. And you made just a passing reference about one nation, one language. Let me take this opportunity to say that I don't think anyone is ever imposing any one particular language on anyone whatsoever. हमारे देश में हिंदी का एक अपना स्थान है और मेरा अनुभव है कि भारतवर्ष में जहाँ कहीं जाता हूँ हिंदी का एक स्वीकार है बिना किसी कंपल्शन के और कहीं न किसी शिक्षा नीति में न न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में किसी तरह का कोई इम्पोजिशन है, बल्कि एक्चुअली हमें गौरव है कि हमारे 8वें शेड्यूल में 22 भाषाओं का उल्लेख है कि ये सारी हमारी भाषाएं हैं। तो तमिल और बंगाली, जैसा मैंने पहले कहा कि दक्षिण भारत की सभी भाषाएं हमारी अपनी भाषाएं हैं, तो किसी तरह का भाषा का कोई इम्पोजिशन नहीं है। मैं कह रहा हूँ नहीं भी होना चाहिए और भारतवर्ष अपने मन से हृदय परिवर्तन से वो स्वीकार कर लेता है। सो टू समराइज माय रिस्पॉन्स इन वन लाइन, वी नीड आर्टिकल 44 टू बी इम्प्लीमेंटेड टुमारो मॉर्निंग। थैंक यू।
एक बार पुनः हृदय तल की गहराइयों से आपका बहुत बहुत आभार, शुक्रिया। इस मंच के माध्यम से जो ज्ञान की वर्षा आपने की है, सभी को इसका लाभ पहुंचा होगा। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आपका। अब मैं आमंत्रित करना चाहूँगी संसद टीवी के सोशल मीडिया प्रमुख श्री उमेश शर्मा जी को। आज इस मौके पर अविनाश धर्माधिकारी जी को सेंगोल भेंट करें।
संसद टीवी के और भी प्रोग्राम्स देखने के लिए सब्सक्राइब करें हमारा YouTube चैनल और हाँ, इन्हें लाइक और शेयर करना ना भूलें।